Hi everyone, Stereo View X, hello, Kelvin here from London. We're going to do a review of a big beast, a British hi-fi, Sugden A48 amplifier in a minute. Just want to say, please send your comments in, what you like, what sounds good. Let's use it as a place to share information, yeah? It's great that people that like hi-fi, we can share information. That's, it's really handy, and we're not dealing with people that are, trying to make some money out of us. So I'm not making any money out of this, and I'm not selling any products, so this is my hobby, and I guess it's yours too. So yeah, share everything, everything anything that sounds brilliant, just share it. And we might not always agree, but it's really good information. Okay, going to review the Sugden now. Hello, hi hi-fi people, how you doing? Kelvin here from London. Okay, what we're going to do today is take a look at this. This is a Sugden A48. Sugden, British company, respected company, a company that doesn't pump out a range a year, yeah. I mean, they're still going. I doubt very much they've probably been taken over by someone else. I don't really know, but British company, from the 60s, class act, making hi-fi for a long time, not pumping out ranges, nothing gimmickery, yeah, really trying to make great sounding things, and low, not mass production. This is, I guess, worth saying. There's not millions of these around. I mean, there's a few, you know what I mean, but they're not all over the place like a Yamaha or JBL or something like that. But really class act. So what I'm going to do, I'll do a quick thing on sound, then we're going to come in close and look at all these features. It has some unusual features, and then I'm going to go into detail about the sound for you. Okay, first thing, this is a great sounding, powerful amp. Yeah, this is a real, I always think of this as like a Rolls Royce. Yeah, it's got effortless power, it's gorgeous, it's luxurious, it's big, and it's pretty damn accurate and good, pretty damn accurate and good. Okay, look, we'll do the features, and then I'm going to go big into the sound for you. Okay, I'm going to just move this camera here, and we're going to go in close. And this amp does have some sort of, it has some curious features actually, and some of which I'm not quite sure what they're there for. So, can you see that? Let's have a look. Yes, you can. Okay, so let's have a look over here. A48 stereo amplifier. It says here disc 2, disc 1. It actually doesn't have two of those at the back. It only has one disc input. So this probably refers to another version of the amp. This is rated at 50 watts a channel, by the way, 50 watts. And it's a thing called a class A-B. So I think the low level sound is A, and then as it gets louder it has some feedback thing. That's about as detailed as I know, but it's very powerful. That's what I want to know. So we've got disc, we've got radio, we've got 2 tape, volume, bass, treble, balance, all very normal. Mute, if you ever want to mute your amp suddenly, stop all the sound. Then just inputs, tape 1, tape 2, mono. I always like having a mono button. If you press your mono button on your amplifier, say with headphones on, and you don't hear much difference, it probably means it's not a great amp, just in a very general way, because basically you've gone from stereo to mono. So and this, which is really interesting, you never see this, which is reverse, which basically means the right channel becomes the left channel and vice versa. And I've been playing with that with the headphones on, and it's really quite a freaky experience, to be honest, because I don't know, it's just they don't exactly sound the same. But anyway, I'm not sure what you'd use that feature for, but it's there if you want it. I mean, technically, you really want to keep the right on the right and the left on the left, because that is how it was built. You know, the sound was built by the producer, and there's things about things, you know, most times sound goes from the left to the right, you know, like a drum fill will often go diddly diddly boom, because we read from the left to the right. So there's lots of keep the artistry of the producer, definitely keep the right on the right and the left on the left. Okay, now over here, this is also this is interesting and unusual. We've got a low filter for low sounds, which you might want to cut out rumble on your deck or just reduce the low bass, particularly actually if you're putting this through speakers that aren't very big. Actually, you might want to just lose that, do that low frequency filter, and you probably get a much nicer mid-range, because this has got so much bass it can kind of choke speakers, you know, if they are not big. Then we've got these other frequency controls, which you know, most times you never get, and frankly I don't know what use they would be. A filter at 7,000 Hertz, you're kind of never going to use that. It's never going to sound good. I don't really know what it's there for. And then it's got 4K here, so I think if you press both you get a 4K filter, and then if you press this one you get a filter at 10,000 Hertz, which is, you know, that's the top end, by the way. You know, your tweeter is coming in at about 3,000 Hertz. And this button's steep, which I have pressed many times. I don't know, it just doesn't sound very good. Don't know what it's there for, honestly. And quiet will just reduce the sound. This one says quiet. It will just reduce the sound to really low, you know, if you want to take a phone call or something like that. And then we've just got mains, speaker 1, speaker 2, headphones, old-fashioned big headphone socket. Okay, I should say this amp is absolutely filthy. And but you know, it doesn't matter, it still sounds absolutely great. It's been in my basement for a few years, but I've had it playing for many years. Okay, let's have a look at the back here now. Okay, let's see the back of it. So here we have, the thing that a lot of people don't like is these are DIN plugs, yeah, 5-pin DIN plugs, and this is my adapter. So, you know, you put your phono plugs in there, and this goes in here. So you've got disc, tape 1, tape 2 radio. You can put your CD or your iPhone into any of those, yeah? Not disc, that's turntable obviously, but this is the same level as the CD, yeah? I think the radio actually might be a slightly different level to the tape, but you can try it and see what one sounds best. But you know, put your CD or whatever in any of those, so you're fine for a sort of inputs. And then over here on the speakers, you know, just banana plugs, yeah, so that's fine. Just these DIN plugs, I know some people don't like them, but I won't let that stand in the way of something that sounds good myself. Okay, let me turn this round, and I'm going to go and give you some detailed stuff about the sound of this classic British amp. 1 second, let's put this here. Okay, a second. Okay, let's put that there. Okay, look, what I'm going to do, I got a load of notes here I made listening to various songs, playing this on speakers and also playing it through some nice Grado headphones. I'm just going to give you all these one-liners I put here. Real grip in the bass. You get a absolutely vice, strong, this is the word you would associate with this amp. It's got grip, yeah? Things aren't lost, things are precise, and the bass especially is very tight. The bass is not one note like do 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 do. You know, that's a fault with some amplifiers, and also I suppose smaller speakers do this. The bass, you do not define, you do not get the different notes. Yeah, this is great on bass. It's very bassy. This sound is a bassy sound. It's also a spacious sound though, you know. So don't let that put you off completely. But okay, the bass is not one note. It's a smooth sound. It's spacious. I put here, it's not super authentic, yeah. Now this is a real class amp, yeah. This is mostly better than most Japanese vintage stuff, Pioneer. This is just better. It's just better and more accurate and refined. So I'm judging this amp like to a high standard. So when I make these criticisms, you know, they're pretty damn small. But I'm sort of comparing this or thinking about it to things like my name power amp or a quad power amp, or you know, I'm not comparing it to a Pioneer, say, or even most of my Sansui stuff. So you know, I'm judging this by a high standard. You know, they're not cheap. They're not terribly expensive either. Okay, what we got here? You can follow the bass player. You can really follow the bass is great. Good in a big room, yeah. If you had a small room and small speakers, this amp probably isn't the one for you, yeah. But if you have a big amp and a big room and big speakers, this is great. This is going to be really great, and it's going to fill your room with interesting bass, you know, and a spacious mid-range. We'll go into that a bit more in a minute. Okay, I also say in my notes here, I think if you like reggae, you would love this, yeah. Nothing is going to sound better. Reggae is not going to sound better on any amp. This is going to be great. Big spacious mid-range, and then the bass will come in and you'll feel it and you'll be able to follow it, you know. It'll just be super duper for bass. Okay, the other thing I thought mentioning about this, about speakers, yeah, is that it would be good, this would be a great thing. So you see these speakers here, yeah? These speakers here have two tweeters really and a woofer. This is not a mid-range unit, this is a tweeter and a super tweeter. This amp would be fantastic with a three-way, you know, if you can get your hands on some nice three-way speakers, which are obviously kind of the holy grail of speakers, with a dedicated mid-range driver, the big sound that this produces, the amount of bass it produces, is handy for this thing to have its own mid-range driver, because that will always give you a bit more mid-range, and the mid-range is a bit suppressed, not dull, just back a bit. Do you know what I mean? It's not dull or lacking in detail. It's just like, it's like you receiving the bass and there's the mid-range and there's the treble. It's like a, I don't know, it's like a kind of three-dimensional almost thing. But the point I'm making is a nice three-way, like a Kef concerto, if you look up Kef concertos, or I think it's Celestion Ditton 25, the Celestion one that has like a 12-inch bass driver, a 4-inch mid-range and a tweeter, not the one with two tweeters, which may be the 44. But anyway, a three-way design that is big is going to be great. It's going to be great. You're going to have humongous, effortless power, big sound, spacious mid-range, and it's smooth and it's detailed. It's good, you know. This is a class act, you know. As I said, to me it's like a Rolls Royce, you know. I'll do the prices for this in a sec. And also the phono stage here, by which I mean the turntable preamplifier, which is inside here, is good, right? I won't go into detail about it because in a way it has its own characteristics, but it's a good one, yeah. It's not, there's no problems associated with that, the phono stage as they call it. So I would say this amp does have, it's kind of bass first, yeah. It's kind of bass first. So there are, you know, I guess it's not to everyone's cup of tea, Not everyone's cup of tea. Okay, let me do the price. Let me do the prices here, and then I'm going to just quickly go into detail about any negative aspects of this sound. But okay, price-wise, if you go on eBay like I do a lot, you'll discover that, you know, 2 or 3 years ago these would go into the auction, yeah, and you might get them for 120 quid or something. Nowadays, lots of people on eBay are doing, you know, buy it now. They don't want to sell it for 120 quid, you know, or they want to make money, or they just don't want to part with it for 120, 150 quid. So they put buy it now, and it's like 400 quid. Or, sorry, when I say quid, that's pounds. So 400 quid is about $500, by the way. So, point being that, I mean, to me, even though this is a great amp, it's not super popular, because it doesn't look fantastic, right? It's not, you know, it's not kind of a, doesn't have that sort of the same retro feel as brushed aluminium, right? I mean, it's not bad looking, even though this one is pretty destroyed. So that in a way, that doesn't make them super popular. But what I'm saying to you is, price-wise, I would pay £200, maybe $250 for it. Myself, I'm not paying 700 quid for a vintage amp that might sound good, but it's 50 years old and it's going to need work on it. Now, you might have more money than me, and well done if you have, and you can get that amp sorted out and recapped and all that stuff, you know. But in my mind, anyway, I don't want to spend big bucks on things that are 50 years old. But, you know, I've got tons of vintage stereo, I should say, and more or less none of it is broken on me in my possession, you know. And, you know, I've had them for 10 years, and literally I can't think of anything that's... I did blow up a one Sugden. I did have another Sugden, actually, a Class A one, and that blew up years ago. But anyway, what am I saying? The value to me of this, I would want to pay. Do you need to get it when it's in an auction, really? And even in an auction, it will probably go for like $250 or £200, you know. It may be less, you know. And God, it's really worth it. It's worth it, you know. But I set a limit of big bucks on stuff that is 50 years old, you know. But you might see it differently. Okay. Just going to do what are the small negative aspects of this amp, which, as I'm saying, it's a class amp. It's better than most Japanese vintage amps. It's better than any Pioneer. I'm guaranteeing you that. Just kind of going to say, I'm sure of it. It's going to beat every Pioneer, I would say, for detail, accuracy, and a tight bass. Tight, yeah? Detailed, tight bass. You know, Pioneer in particular, I find the bass loose. Some people like it because it's big, but to me it's loose. Okay, slight negative things about this amp, and I'm being very critical. Slight mid-range suppression, which is really more like the big bass suppressing the mid-range. Also, I've written in my notes, not for punk rock. It doesn't have a big mid-rangey effect, yeah? It doesn't like snare drum sounds, and that sort of aggression kind of doesn't, the craziness and that you get, say, in punk rock. This is smooth, big, powerful. I mean, the bass and the bass drum will be really driving. I mean, I'm using that punk rock thing just as a way of making a point, do you know what I mean, about how it sounds, you know. The bass, I think I've said this before, yeah, the bass is like it's tinily impinging on the vocals, you know, just tiny bit. And I also have here, I've written, not incredibly involving. Well, it's pretty involving, yeah, it's pretty involving. And I'm going into really fine detail here. Because you get the bass first, it's kind of bass heavy, this is, right? Somehow or other, you get a bit more tuned into that bass than you do to the vocals, which are there and are accurate and absolutely fine. And what I'm saying here, you might not even register. but I'm going into small details. But the vocals, because of the bass forward, it's like you notice the bass and you kind of don't get hold of those vocals. You just don't get involved in it quite in the same way, you know. So there's a minor down there, I would say, you know. And in a way, it's some of my other amps, like the Name or a good Sansui, I feel like I'd sort of be more in tune to the singer, just a bit, yeah, just a bit. So okay, that's probably it. That's probably it. So it's a big beast. It's a massive sound. It's got phenomenal bass. It's smooth. It's refined. It's got a few tiny sound issues, minor inadequate, you know, inauthenticness, but it's very minor. I'm saying it's minor. This is a class act. This is like getting a Rolls Royce, you know, for a few £1,000. You know, this is a class act. Tons of power. Next week or next one I'm going to do will be on a Sansui Deluxe 8, which is kind of the big beast of Japanese vintage, which I've got over there. So okay, thanks for listening. Bye for now. If you have tips or things you want to talk about, put them in the comments, and you know, I'll talk about them if I can. You know, I want to let's do feedback. You know, and people are telling me about their hi-fis, and it's great, and they're telling me about things I've never heard. There's nothing better than hearing what people think that isn't the product of you know, commercial enterprises, shall we say. Okay, thanks. Bye for now.